What's going on, everybody? This is Joe.
And Amy.
And we are back with the continuation of this series where we are reviewing the Varia CCG decks. We were gifted these by Guildhouse Games, and they asked us if we would review their new cards for their new game. And we were...
So we said no.
Yeah, exactly. We said, well, we're not really interested. No, we were actually super flattered that we were contacted for this. And if you have missed the other videos in the series, I highly encourage that you go check them out, especially the first one, just because we talked over all the decks individually, kind of broadly in the beginning, and then went into the Shadow Assassin. But if you look at the iCard in the top right-hand corner right now of your screen that is about to appear, that will have the playlist for you to go check out. For today, as you can see, first of all, I am in the chair, but we have the Divine Paladin deck. So, as we have already sufficiently struggled with these, I did start this slightly. Again, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that you have to struggle with these, because again, they were shipped to us, and I'd much rather that they stay intact. As we have been doing, let's look at the art on the back of this, so that we can talk about that a bit. This is a little bit different than the art on the front. I would still, I mean, Amy's better at this than I am, but I would still say that there's not a ton of contrasting colors here.
Nope.
It's still all very yellow / gold, but I do like just the silhouette, if you will, or the kind of ghostly figure of what I assume would be a goddess or an angel type figure behind the paladin. I mean, obviously that's kind of the whole shtick of paladins, right? Is to be close with your god or goddess. And in this case, you can see that art kind of simulating just the fact that the goddess or the angel is always looking over the paladin and watching over him in this case. So I like that a lot. And then kind of imbuing him with holy strength in his arm and his buckler, or what looks like a buckler there as well.
Yeah, it appears that this god or goddess maybe doesn't represent Libra, but has sort of a helmet that covers their eyes.
Right.
So it sort of represents justice.
I was going to say maybe justice is blind kind of thing.
But there's also rays of sun coming off of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough about Greek and Roman mythology to weigh in on if that is very closely associated with a specific god or not. But yeah, like I said, justice symbolism is what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
I kind of like the coloration of this a bit better, because I think it looks sort of to me like a black and white photo. And then when you like on Photoshop or whatever, when you make a photo black and white and then you add a color to it, you say, okay, I want all the gold to show up, not black and white, and actually be gold. And then the rest of it is black and white. That's kind of like the feel that I get from this.
Okay.
Almost. Is it's like a black and white where all the gold is shining through.
Interesting.
Well.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that. That's really cool. And as we've been doing with these decks, first of all, we can talk about the difficulty down here in the bottom corner. It shows that this difficulty is 2 out of 5, which is the lowest difficulty of deck that I have looked at. And by I mean of the 4 decks that I picked versus the 3 that Amy picked. Last video, if you missed it, we did look at the Volcanic Warrior, which is our first 1 difficulty deck. And this is our first 2 difficulty deck in general that we've looked at. My Shadow Assassin was 3, and my 6th Blade was 4, and the Death Pirate was 3 as well. So this being a 2 difficulty out of 5, it'll be interesting to see, because with the Volcanic Warrior, it did seem to show through that it was the basic deck, you know, and etc. And so I'll be interested to see how this 2 difficulty deck as opposed to 1 and or as opposed to 3 that we saw with Shadow Assassin and Death Pirate, how that shows through, because again, even with the 6th blade, we really knew that it was a 4 difficulty because it was very complex, which I really appreciated, but, you know. And then also, as we've been doing with these before we get this open, let's read this little blurb on the back. Forget everything you know about trading card games. When playing Varia, there aren't any minions to protect you or walls to hide behind. Instead, you raise the shield, you cast the spell, you swing for the win with your weapon of choice. If you want to rid the realm of demonic forces, you'll have to smite that evil yourself.
Pretty cool.
Very, very good. Very classic Paladin trope. I will attempt to employ Amy's tactic of trying to get in there and get the lip of this box so that we can open it up. I bent it a little, but that is life. It's just fine. Okay, so we pull these out. Very good. Leave the box on the side. So again, the bifold. Okay, then, because I had said that the art on the front didn't show the goddess behind him or the god behind him, but it very much does. It's just that that was cut off by the logo. So very, very cool. I like that the sword is glowing as well. You don't get to see that in the art that was on the back, so that's really nice. Again, that buckler is really cool. And then on the inside, we get to see, whoa, that's really cool. Look at that. I like that a lot.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's very cool.
What a different style that is.
Yeah. And so I'm sure we'll see that on a card, and we'll be able to talk about that more. If you missed it in previous videos, obviously you can feel free to pause the video, scan this QR code to learn how to play, or just check the description below for a link to the tutorial to learn how to play the game, as well as where you can get these decks for yourself, if that is something you are interested in. And as if on cue, that first card is right here in Guided Strike.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, very, very cool.
What a gorgeous art.
Oh, it's insane.
Use of light is incredible. We're actually seeing that the goddess or god's head is apparently the model for the piece of armor that goes over the shoulder.
Okay. Sure.
And this interesting weapon that he's holding looks a lot like those things that you use to break up chopped meat.
Oh, okay.
In the kitchen. But hey, that sounds effective for, you know, beating your enemies, maybe. You
sure.
Just kind of chop them up with that thing.
You know, it's interesting, too. I just kind of assumed when looking at the other arts that the god or goddess kind of being framed behind our hero was supposed to be symbolic of, like, you know, the god or goddess is always there to protect you. But with this being the third piece of art and the third piece of art that we've seen and the third piece of art with the god or goddess on it, it really does seem to me that just that's how this person looks when going around. That, like, they just have that representation of their god over their shoulder at all times.
It's a paladin. This is like a spiritual weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like her, or yeah, I'm gonna call the god a goddess.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the same. I don't know, but just so that we don't have to keep saying it over and over.
Yeah. Her energy is kind of swirling around the paladin's arm.
Oh yeah.
As well, and from that point into the weapon.
It's gorgeous, very intense, this art.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, very sketchy, very painted, you know, very old school techniques. Yeah. I love the way the waves look.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is another one of those pictures where you could take the subject out of the art and love the landscape for what it is on its own.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, the coloration is great. It's got a very natural look to it. You know, this doesn't look like a piece of art that screams fantasy game. Mm-hmm. It looks like a piece of art like this is really happening, you know?
Right.
The colors are not too fanciful. The technique is very, like I said, old school. It's very realistic. Even though you've got a goddess who's like taking a piggyback ride on a dude.
It's very Yoda from Empire Strikes Back on Luke Skywalker's shoulders, like telling him where to go and what to do. But yeah, I like this a lot. And then the flavor text, which is just purely flavor, but is still pretty cool. As long as your faith does not falter, neither will you. Very cool. I mean, very classic faith trope in terms of like, you know, how that goes. Then we have Arms of the Goddess. Okay, so if this is the same character, the goddess is no longer, and now actually it says goddess, so now we can feel confident in that. But now it seems that the goddess is no longer over his shoulder. Again, if it is the same god, character, which I'm not sure that it is, because the buckler looks different and etc. But I do like that the divine energy is being shown to extend from the buckler to turn it into more of a rectangular shield as opposed to a circular buckler like that. Mm-hmm. And it has given kind of divine fire to the sword, to engulf the sword. Yeah. And again, this is a magical attack card, divine, so that makes perfect sense flavorfully. Yeah. This person looks very angry, very aggressive. So there's that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But I like it. I like the... I actually can't quite tell, and maybe Amy, you can help me out. On the armor, I can't tell if that is like wear and rust from like age, or if that is a design on the armor itself, like those details that are there. I can't quite tell.
It appears to be a design.
Okay.
Which again might be runes, or it might just be, you know,
filigree that they like put on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that the latter makes more sense for a paladin as opposed to like wear and tear. Like I don't think a paladin who is trying to be pious to their god would necessarily be wearing like garbage, tattered, rusty armor. You know, they'd probably have like very shiny armor and have that be like a big part of who they are.
Well,
and what
it's
they're
also
doing.
very shiny.
Yeah.
You can see all of the highlights on it from the light source of the sword.
Yes. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Very nice.
All right.
Painted, old school style, real nice.
Yeah.
Of course, the contrast is gorgeous.
Yes.
If that needs to be said.
Ooh, we have Slay the Wicked. I love that. Whoa. That's fantastic. And again, it kind of shows, if it is like a thinner sword, it shows that the divine magic allows that sword to become that much thicker when using it to slay the wicked.
Yeah.
So cool. Oh, okay. And this is considered a magical attack angelic instead of divine. Nice.
Okay.
But very cool. A little bit higher costed than some of the other things that we've seen. The art looks really good. It looks like, it almost looks like this is like a crystalline character of some kind. And that when the sword is hitting them, they are kind of shattering or, I don't know, cleaving around the blade or beneath the blade.
I kind of see those as more like eyeballs or like
Ew.
Sort of pustule type.
Oh, I don't like that. Thank you for putting that image in my head.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, he's got a very veiny throat area.
Oh God. Okay, thank God. You kept us hanging on that
one. Yeah, so I don't know. It's tumors.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I like the
cool looking though.
Yeah,
it's detailed.
I like the fact that it specifies too that there's a benefit if the target has a demonic card in their discard pile. So like it really does, and that's what paladins do. They benefit from facing demonic entities or undead entities or whatever. So that makes sense, and I like that. Yeah. I like that still stands true. Divine intervention. So we saw this as one of the stacks cards in an earlier deck, and we said that it seemed like it would be for the Divine Paladin deck, and now we've been proven correct. It was kind of a softball, but I'll take it. I'll take the win where I can get it in this case. But but that's really good. Yeah, because it says you gain 3 Eyes of the Goddess, and so that's what the stacks was Eyes of the Goddess, and so you would be able to use that. Very, very cool.
That's perfect that it's 3. I mean, that's, representing third eye, being all-knowing, that sort of thing. Even though this goddess, her eyes are covered. Yeah,
exactly. Well, and that even makes more sense than that the third eye would be the one that is kind of the most represented in that way. Is that exactly what you were saying? And I just spoon-fed it to everybody? Okay. God knows I've done that before, where I've missed the point, and I'm like, oh, so this. And you're like, yeah.
Well, that's fine. I do that too. You need to understand what somebody's saying.
It's true. It's interesting to me. It almost looks like this, obviously divine intervention, the whole concept is that your god is helping and giving you exactly what you need to accomplish whatever task you're trying to accomplish. In this case, it almost looks like I get historic feelings with this card, with this art. So to me, it doesn't necessarily look like what I guess it's trying to represent, which is the cavalry, right, coming in behind the paladin, being delivered by the god. Okay. Right? But I guess because of the color and the way that it just looks like an old painting, to me it just looks like kind of, I guess, similar to the Death Pirate situation, where it just makes me think of it's their ancestors, right, coming to help them or something. And right? Okay. Yeah. That's just what it makes me think of. And I know that the intention is this is the army that the god is bringing to help. That's why it's divine intervention. But to me, it looks ancient. More so to me, mainly I think because of the muted coloration of the background characters, and again how it kind of just looks like an old painting. Okay.
Are there 2 of them?
No, there are not. Oh, okay. But I can pass it over while we give everybody a quick glance at the next one.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I think that argument is a very good one to make, because there's sort of the same color as the goddess. Right. Or perhaps a bit earthier in tone, which is perfect, as she is a god and they are not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect assumption to make there.
And this is a magical divine angelic. So we've seen magical attack divine, we've seen magical attack angelic, and this is magical divine angelic. So just covering all our bases. Yeah. We have what seems to be somewhat oxymoronic, but the next card is Healing Hammers.
It's like jumbo shrimp.
Kind of. But a hammer being a weapon and healing being the opposite of what typically occurs when being enacted upon by a weapon. So kind of interesting. Yeah. But I like it.
Heal.
What do they heal?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, how do they heal? I assume they heal either the wielder or the subject of the attack, but... Weird. Yeah, very weird.
They really do look like those things that you use for chop meat.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they were inspired by? I highly doubt it.
Well. Yeah, great art. Beautiful painting.
The background is awesome.
Yeah, another one of those. You can take the subject out and it's just a beautiful landscape that you can hang up in your house. I like the coloration here, that it's muted. Again, I like that mutedness when it's in a forest to kind of counter in that cover that you get in a forest, and that kind of blocks out a lot of the sunlight. But then you've got the light emanating off of these weapons, which is great.
Yeah, I will say because we kind of talked about it, I actually genuinely at this point don't remember which deck it was from, and I figured that was going to happen eventually where they'd start bleeding together, but the kind of the border colors, as well as the golden top and bottom here with the nameplate, not as striking to me with these cards because of their use of color in the art.
Yeah, because there's so much gold.
Yeah, it doesn't complement as well with the border and the top, where it really popped and really stood out for, I believe it was the Sixth Blade. It could have been Volcanic Warrior, but I believe it was Sixth Blade. I don't exactly recall.
I kind of dig for all of them.
Yeah. But this one, I mean, again, border is still great. Nameplate is still great. I love the gold in there. It just doesn't pop as much and stand out as much for me in these. So
because complementary colors is what you would really need for something like that.
Right.
So for something like this, it would make sense to do, like, instead of that purple border, like orangey red.
Okay.
And then instead of the gold, you would use, I don't know. Yeah, you could use like a magenta, like instead of this being like a blue that fades into a purple.
Sure.
You have like a red that fades into a purple.
Okay.
And then this could be like an orange.
I was going to say like the orange
gold.
you mentioned. Okay.
And then that would be a way to have like an orangey gold would still be like a gold. And the border could still be like a purple, but it would make those colors pop a lot more because you're sort of blending it in with the red and the orange, which are more complementary colors to this sort of color palette of sort of grayish blue.
Okay. Yeah, that is good. Again, I wasn't fully able to articulate that, so thank you. Next, we have Devout Aegis. Wow, I like this one a lot. I like the use of colors. The addition of even just that little bit of blue energy really allows this to stand out a lot more, I feel like.
And the red hair.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Very, very cool. I love that. I mean, it's a magical block card. So it really does show, he's holding the buckler up, but the buckler, as you can see, is truly extending into a massive shield, covering his entire person with, that divine light, so to speak.
Right, that sort of holy energy is actually protecting him, not the little buckler. I
love it. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
If we can look at the flavor text, it says, "Today I faced the greatest foe of all, doubt." And that's from Destin's journal, which means that our character's name is Destin. We've learned, which makes sense. Destiny, Destin, Paladin. I like it.
It looks like this might be one of the pirates fighting him.
Oh, interesting. Yes, with that shirt piece there that is showing.
The buckles and the... Yeah.
I like it. Ooh, we have Thy Will Be Done.
Wow.
Very cool. And see, with this one, right, we were talking about the border. For me, with the way that the background and the background colors are, if that black line wasn't there, separating the border from the art, it would look like the border was just bleeding perfectly into the art.
Exactly.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
I like that a lot.
This is a great example of how that gold and that purple don't need to pop. They don't need to be accentuated because if they incorporate in as part of the picture, then it almost feels like a borderless card.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So cool. If we can look at...
The depiction of light is insane.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Which it makes sense, right? The holy light, holy glow, of course. And this card does a very good job of that. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I like the flavor text. There's a lot of it, but it's really cool. It says, "Countless times I asked how Destin could trust his goddess's designs. I suppose he felt a kinship, for they were both blind."
Wow.
Said by Diego Alvarez. So I don't know if that's an insult or not. Like, if you're saying somebody is blind, right, that's obviously ableism and messed up, but but regardless, saying that someone is blind, like not able to see something that's right in front of them kind of a thing, that's typically an insulting statement. And so Diego Alvarez, I feel like is that one of our other characters?
I don't know.
I don't
It
think
doesn't
so.
Seem like it.
No, but very, very interesting that, yeah, it seems like it's, to me, it seems like it is a confrontational statement.
Yeah.
Of like, well, you're both blind, you know?
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, representation of justice, blind faith.
Yeah.
Seeing no evil.
Yeah. I like that.
Having higher senses. Because if you're blind, it will heighten your other senses to compensate.
Yes.
So it's representing that as well, having a higher sense of reality, the world, people around you, things like that. That goes back to that third eye thing again.
Yeah. Sorry.
That, your eyes functioning does very little for the actual amount of awareness that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my curiosity, now that we're looking at this art, my curiosity is, how does Destin wear that shoulder piece without consistently stabbing himself in the face? I don't get it. Like, he turns and looks left too quickly, he's going to lose an eye. Like,
Well, and again, he's blind, so maybe he doesn't turn and look too quickly.
I don't think he's actually blind. I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's just an insulting comment that person's making.
Okay, that's your interpretation.
Sure. Well, and again, maybe I'm wrong. I thought in some of these other arts that it looked like. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like in some of these arts that you can't really see pupils.
Yeah.
In Destin's eyes. So maybe you're right, Amy. Maybe it's maybe it truly was that they are in fact both blind. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just an insulting statement.
Yeah.
Of somebody that he's fighting.
Yeah.
But I don't see why it could not be true as well.
Yeah, fair point. Well, especially if the god will guide him, right? In the same way that the goddess is able to traverse the planes, if you will, without being able to see. Yeah. They could guide Destin's hand in the same way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very, very cool.
Right.
I love that the name of it is so theological.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
perfect.
We won't even go into that.
Very, very good. Angelic Incarnation. So this is the art from the back of the box. Much brighter on this this depiction. I like it. And I like the flavor text as well. For the cause, for you, forever.
Wow.
Very, very good. Again, not lore-based, but still very flavorful. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. It's the highest costing card we've seen so far in this deck. So yeah, you gain 3 unbeatable when you use this, which seems pretty okay. Yeah. And it's D6 plus 6 or 6 plus a D6 and 6 plus a D4. That's a lot. That's like the most that I think that we've seen in these slots, except for like, the infinity or the star or whatever, an actual number.
Yeah, I mean, this one is great. It is much brighter than the other depiction of it that we saw, which was on the back of the deck box.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, and you get to see a bit more of it too. It's not as cut off. Mm-hmm. You get to see like the details of the wings really well and stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, very cool. And then, as we have been doing, these decks continue to tease me because we once again have Aria's Tarka. I want to know more about these characters. I truly, truly do. Let me move this back forward so everybody can see better. But yes, this is the the card that indicates that we are moving away from purely Divine Paladin cards into more generic cards. I love it. I want to know more. I want to know more about these characters. I truly do. We have a Plasma Cutter again. We spoke about that previously. We saw it, and it seems to relate to the 6th Blade deck most, but obviously is here as a generic version of a card that can help out any deck.
Beautiful, beautiful art.
Aimed Edge, which we've seen in almost literally every deck.
Or the one that sort of pairs with it.
Right. Well, yeah. One, the other, or both. Sublimate. Seen this a million times as well. Ooh, interesting. So Amber Barrier is a zoomed in version of another art that we have seen, and yet this card we have not seen yet.
Yes, that's true.
Because there's an attack, I don't remember the name of it, but it was the one that like stood out for being such a bright card.
Right.
And yet this Amber Barrier makes perfect sense to be in this deck, just based on the blocks that we've been seeing the Paladin making. This is like a golden magical block, like visually. And yet it's a magical block earth, not divine, not anything like that. It's like earth-based. And I had surmised, looking at this art, that this might have been a dwarf. And, you know, we kind of went back and forth. It could just be a stocky human with a beard. If we look at the flavor text, it says, gem of a spell, isn't it? Only a sap would be caught without it. Said by Graham the Explorer. So, yeah, I would still think that it's a bit of a dwarf, but it's not the kind of thing where it's like, see, Amy, I was right. Like, there's obviously no indication one way or another. So, but I like it. I think first of all, he looks adorable. I love him.
I can't really see it that well. And I remember the other card, but yeah, very cute.
Right? I like him.
Yeah, there's the bright green leaf blowing in the wind.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the one where the woman is like, she's got the blue glowing sword,
stabbing toward him or whatever.
Red hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that art. Stood out to me so much when I first saw it.
Yeah,
like, it was just so different than every other card in the deck art wise. And this too. I mean, it obviously it's not drastically different from a lot of the other cards in this deck, just because of the, like I said, the glowing golden energy for everything else that we've seen. But it's really cool. I like this art a lot.
Yeah. It's almost cartoony.
Yeah, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Borrowers, because he's got like the big book on his back, like as a backpack.
Oh, okay.
It's like so cute.
In fact, I kind of just thought it was a backpack. Thank you for looking closely enough and seeing that it's a book.
It's a book.
That makes sense. And if he's a mage, maybe it's his spell book kind of a thing. That makes sense. Behind it, we have Defend, pretty classic, gigantic shield on this guy. And we've spoken about this card before. There's two of those. Combat Reflexes, we've seen this many times as well. Still awesome.
Yeah, I'm starting to sort of rethink what the technique was used here. I think it might have been like sketched in pen.
Okay.
And then colored in with like watercolor markers.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I think was done for this piece of art.
Okay. Interesting. Still love that flavor text. Armor is for people who get hit. Very cool. We have Shield Kick. We've seen this maybe once before, but it's the continuation of this Defend card.
Yeah.
So you can see the leg here of the monk that is then fully visible in the Shield Kick card. Very cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that idea of like two cards individually that may not even be in the same deck, but that if you get both of them, you're like, oh, cool. This tells a story. Like, I recognize this. I like that a lot. Force Blister. Okay, very similar to, I mean, it's a block. It seems like that's just like the circular block cards, right? Force Blister and the one that we had earlier, Amber Barrier. They are all like circular block based arts, And I think they've done enough with the variants of them.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I agree.
Very cool. Very interesting. We have Brace Yourself. We've seen this many times as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. Faith Sworn Baton, which I would have thought it was a sword, but here is the flavor text for it to help better explain it. A simple rod to the uninitiated. Those with enough faith to wield it are always armed.
I think it turns into a sword.
Correct. Through your faith and through your help from your goddess. Yes. I love it. I absolutely love that. That's really cool. And that is, obviously, if you're unaware, we are now into the item cards. So this is our first item in Faith Sworn Baton. And again, art is great. This is just from the front of the box, which we've seen used multiple times, that this front of the box art is typically the items, or one of the items, because it best depicts the character. I'm going to go ahead and guess that the buckler is one of the items as well, but we will see that in a moment.
This is kind of like an interesting concept. It kind of sort of an homage to like the Sword in the Stone type of deal.
I like that.
Like King Arthur, maybe it's a stick or a stuck sword or sort of any incarnation of something that may or may not seem as though it would be a halfway decent weapon.
Sure.
That then gets sort of imbued with power enough for someone who is righteous enough to take and use as a far better sword.
Yeah, really, really cool. I was right. The Faith Sworn Buckler.
Nice.
Very cool. So it heals you, it seems. The card itself, it says that you regain 1 health point with it. It is the buckler, and then it says, this small buckler rewards the faithful by emanating a soothing light. And that makes sense. Healing light, that whole concept. I like that. Very cool. And again, just the like zoomed in version of this art, just kind of lower down. That's all.
And the reward is that it protects you a much larger surface area than the actual item is.
Yes. Right. When coupled with your faith, as we've learned, which is really cool. We have Healing Hammers, the token version, because it says when you plan this, create a token that's a copy of it. So there you go. Also on the back of that token, we have the Combat Reflexes token, which we've seen many times.
Yes.
Very cool. And then we have for our stacks cards, again, as we assumed, we have Eyes of the Goddess. We also have, for the monks, we have Chi, which I believe we've seen before, but maybe not.
Yes, we've seen it once.
There you go. Thank you. And then on the back, upside down, we have Bleeding and Hemotoxin. We've seen this a couple of times now as well.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Oh, God.
So it's not that the finger is drawing the eye. It's blood is drawing the eye.
Because bleeding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even think of that.
That's interesting.
Why not? No, okay. So the character is using their own blood to create that eye.
Okay. I did not and would not have thought of that either, so nicely done. We continue with Charmed. God, that art's so good. It's just so realistic. Yeah.
Very pretty.
Coupled with Unbeatable. So we talked about Unbeatable earlier, when you gain a stack of 3, I think it was 3 Unbeatable or whatever. And then on the other side is the typical Enraged or Fatigue cards that we get for our stacks. Again, these are just there to show kind of status ailments or effects that are on your character. And then unsurprisingly, the dice card, the D6 and the D4 cut out and assemble, are bright yellow.
Yeah.
Which is, again, very unsurprising for this particular deck. But yeah, this was very, very interesting. On the back, obviously, you can see the 3 characters that were not depicted on the bifold and that are not the Divine Paladin itself. And again, just as a prompt for ourselves and for all of you, if you have not seen our other videos, obviously that playlist was linked at the beginning. Please feel free to go and check out all of these videos. If this intrigues you, like I said, please check the description below for a link to go and find out where you can buy these cards, as well as learn how to play the game itself. And hopefully it may take us a bit, but hopefully this will be something that will be something that we will be able to show all of you as well in the future. We just have to figure out the best way to do that for ourselves. Amy, what did you think overall of this deck?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like that we're getting to a point where there are certain cards that we keep seeing over and over again. So it allows us to kind of get through this a bit quicker because we have a little bit less to say on those particular cards because we've seen them before. Yeah, no, this particular deck, the ways in which it was different, I like it a lot. Yeah, it's really cool. I like the concept of the goddess, the sort of symbolisms that we have determined are the symbolisms, regardless of whether that's just theoretical or not. But.
Right, and or whether it's an exhaustive list or not, which I'm sure it's not. Because I was going to say, I do feel like we didn't get a lot of information about this character and or the goddess that he worships, right? We know his name is Destin, and we know that the goddess is blind. We are unsure as to whether Destin is blind or not. It's possible that he is, or it's possible that his friend Alvarez was not really his friend and was being a little mean about it. So, interesting. Either way, interesting. But yeah, I think this deck is cool. I think that I wasn't fully able to tell necessarily why it was 2 versus 3. Like, I feel like it was, but maybe that's just because I knew that going in. Like, if I hadn't known what the difficulty was and you'd asked me to guess, I don't know that I would have been able to. Okay. But I can say that it felt like a 2 difficulty based on everything else that we've seen. It definitely did not feel like a 4 difficulty like the 6th blade. Right. That felt so much more complex.
That definitely had a complexity to it that was noticeable.
Yeah. It definitely stood out, yeah. So, intriguing to me. If you are unaware of how the rest of this series is going to work, if you haven't heard us talk about it yet, next video is going to be Amy's final deck, which is the Cosmic Mage. And that video will be out the day after this video has come out, so be aware of that. And the Mystic Monk deck will be my final deck after that, and that will be out the day after the Cosmic Mage. So this came out on a Thursday, Cosmic Mage should be out on Friday, Mystic Monk should be out on Saturday. Please feel free to subscribe down below and ring that bell to be notified when all of our future videos come out.
Please do.
Yes, all of these. And then typically this channel is more based on Magic the Gathering, but once again, we want to thank Guildhouse Games for contacting us and asking us to review these. I've been having a blast.
Yes.
It's been a lot of fun seeing these cards and seeing a new take on a CCG. It's been a lot of fun. So, definitely let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. You can check us out. All of our information is in the description below as well. We have other channels, Video Games for All and Gluten Free for All, so we encourage you to check those out too. But for now, from us here at the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.